I was working on the ER album and took a break because sometimes I like to listen to other songs from other bands just to see what they're doing and maybe get some ideas or influences, maybe in a sense, or like how do they get that sound, or maybe I could apply that guitar sound to what I'm doing for a particular song. But so I'll go to YouTube and I'll check out some things. Well, I happen to go to YouTube today, and they were doing a premiere of one of the David Gilmour concerts that he did several years ago. It was great to see artists, again, artists who have passed away, like Rick Wright, David Bowie, and who else was on there? There was Graham Nash, he's still around, but like David Crosby, he's gone. Dick Perry, the sax player who played such great iconic solos on Pink Floyd albums, had recently passed away. So it was great to see these musicians play. And while I was watching that, it was like feeling so thankful and grateful for the generation that I grew up in. I'm a Gen Zer, or Gen Z, I'm Gen Xer, not a Gen Zer, a Gen Xer. And, I got to see some of these artists. These are iconic musicians, bands who really set the standard for music, for the rock and roll world especially. Real musicians with real talent who spend time crafting their music and just presenting things that are just so incredible. So fortunate, maybe you're a baby boomer, maybe you are a Gen Zer. And I do have to give props to bands that are out there, bands that are playing today, that are real musicians, that aren't just relying on, AI crap. AI, the AI slop is the term that's thrown around. I'll keep the S of slop, but I'm changing the LOP to HIT because that's really what it is. It's AI shit. And we gotta not be sucked into that crap. What I find with a lot of the AI music that's out there, and then so much of it that's being put out there is that, first of all, people are really getting sick of hearing a lot of that AI crap. But what it does is you get these people who call themselves musicians, which is like the biggest joke ever, because you're not. You're not a musician. You're a computer programmer. And matter of fact, I can't even call you a computer programmer because when you're using something like Suno, or you're using, something to replicate your voice, or whatever, create music like 11 Labs, which is, whatever, it's crap. You're a button pusher, right? All you're doing is you're typing in prompts and you're letting AI do all the work for you. So don't ever insult the rest of us who are real musicians by calling yourself a musician, because you're not. You're a poser. You are a fake. You are not who you say you are. And if you're doing it just for monetary value, I'm going to make tons of money off of AI, whatever, more power to you to do that. But, the people who you're trying to dupe are catching on. And I don't like listening to that stuff, and I know a lot of people don't. This is why I really appreciate artists like David Gilmour. And it was so nice and refreshing to watch that, and to also hear some of the simplicity of the music, which is very, very powerful. And I have to remind myself, because I'm very influenced by Pink Floyd and by David Gilmour, and you do hear those aspects in my music that I'm doing, especially if you listen to songs from the 1111 album, and especially songs from the Resurrection of Black album. I mean, there's definitely David Gilmour influences in there. But again, it's real musicians, right? And that's what I really love about it. And that's what I'm really proud of in regards to writing my music, doing the music that I'm doing for ER, challenging myself musically, using my brain, and not only just for creative things for the music, but it's technical, getting myself up to the level that I need to, that I want to be at, and that I need to be at for the ER album and for anything that I do, okay? So it's just great and refreshing to see people like Gilmour doing his thing and other musicians doing their thing, and they're real musicians. And I have a lot of props and accolades and respect for real musicians. But yeah, I mean, you see posers all the time. I see it here in Sedona. I live in Sedona. There's a lot of, hippie this and that and the other, vortex this and new age that. And there's a lot of people out here who are just a bunch of posers. They act like they're so, oh, I'm so enlightened, yet they're like one of the worst human beings on the planet. So there's a lot of that out there. They're just as bad as AI. And there are good people out there too. So, and that's the thing, is that we gravitate towards real. We gravitate towards authenticity. We gravitate towards the real thing. And that's the beauty of it. And that's why music can be very, very powerful, because the one thing that all these dupes and these posers and these people who want to call themselves musicians, which they're not, they're just button pushers, and that whole AI thing, is that you are doing something that cannot replace the human soul. All this stuff is soulless. There's nothing substantial. There is no substance to it. And that's the beauty of real music with real musicians who spend the time learning their craft and then presenting it out there, because it's that emotion and that feeling. When you strip away the emotion, you have nothing. You just have, a technician who's great at being a technician. Or, again, you're calling yourself a computer programmer. That's all you are. You're just a button pusher. There is no heart and there's no feeling. There's no emotion as to why that song was written in the first place. You can't take that away from the heart and soul of what the human aspect is. So that's basically what I wanted to talk to you about today. It is raw and unfiltered. I do feature music. I talk about my albums and the songs, and of course recording ER, which is coming up. That date, the release date, we're hoping for, by the way, we were hoping for later in the summer. It looks like it's going to be maybe in the fall, or probably late fall, beginning of winter, when that album will be coming out. And I'll keep you appraised on what's happening with all that. But the thing is, I'm putting in the time and effort and working with great musicians to create an incredible album that's emotionally charged. And that's what music is all about. It is the universal language, and that is those intangibles that make great music. So if you are a musician, man, more power to you. Learn your craft, put in the hours to be a great musician, and then put your music out there. Spend time crafting your music, right? Craft it, make it sound fantastic, because it's coming from your heart and your soul. And that emotion, right? That emotion is what makes a great song, and that's what you want to put out there. You want to put out the emotion, because nothing touches people's heart and soul is feeling what you created, feeling the emotion that you created. Music is great when you're feeling anxious and depressed and just in a bad mood. Music can lift you up. Music can be that best friend that's sitting with you through hard times. Or music can be that best friend that's celebrating, right? It's just a beautiful thing. So, screw all this AI shit. Get into real music, because that's what it's all about. You can never strip away the human soul from a real musician. All right? You never can. This is, of course, Raw and Unfiltered. Thank you for tuning in. I do appreciate you. By the way, please subscribe to this channel. I got more things coming up in regards to ER, of course, if you're curious as to what that is. It's my upcoming album. Got some great merch, by the way. I started putting out, we just released some new merchandise for the ER album. Got some great coffee mugs, or mugs if you want to put your tea in there, with that cool album cover on it, and got another great t-shirt with the album cover on it. Badass, man, love it. So there are links in the description, by the way, that you can go to the shop, or you can just go to my website at laire.com and scroll and click the shop button, and also join the VIP fan list. All right, the link is there, and also there's a private Facebook group for fans as well. Join that, and because we have a lot of fun there. And just again, appreciate your support of real music, right? No AI, no auto-tune, real musicians, real talent. That's what it's all about, okay? Finally, my last assignment to you, as always, is when you're out and about in the world, smile at a stranger, say hello to them, because that small gesture of kindness can make the world of difference in somebody's life. So be a life changer, okay? Make people feel good, spread positivity out there. That's what we need. And that's also the power of music, right? Putting out that positivity, putting out the emotion. Nothing replaces the human emotion, period. All right, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be talking to you on the next episode of Raw and Unfiltered.